Hey travel creators, welcome back to another episode. If you are watching on YouTube, it's good to see you. It's good to see you again. What are you doing? Are you folding laundry? Are you washing dishes? Are you hopefully not driving a car? Unless you're listening like you typically have been through your ears. Still crazy to me. My voice reverberates in people's cars. Anyway, doesn't matter. Today we're talking about UGC with tourism boards. This is something I personally am so interested in and just want to do. And I have found the perfect person to tell us all about it, Roxanne, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So this is going to be an episode where you're going to need a pen and paper, or like your notes app or something. Or you're going to have to come back to this episode and listen again because there's so many good bits in it that are so actionable.
Hi, my name is Roxanne. I go by Travel Creator CEO on Instagram, and I'm a full-time travel UGC creator. And what I do is I work with tourism boards, hotels, and other travel brands, and I create content for them to post to their social media and for them to post as ads. And I'm not required to post it at all, which is the beauty of it. And I also share how to do exactly that on my page at Travel Creator CEO. So that's kind of like a little bit about who I am and what I do.
I think you have such a good username, by the way. I just have to tell you, it's so good. It's like, wow, I'm just
Thank you.
excited that you nabbed it or thought of it. It's so awesome. I love it. Okay, I want to talk about UGC for tourism boards. So when I think of tourism boards or approaching them, really, I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe they might need someone to like write their blog content or something. But I just want to know more from your perspective. Like, what does it look like for you to work with a tourism board? Why should we work with them? Those kinds of questions are what I have about tourism boards. I would love to know from you.
Yeah, so tourism boards post a variety of content, including blog articles and video and photo content. And they're constantly looking for fresh content to post to support their partners or their stakeholders. So hotels, tour operators, basically like local businesses. And to basically meet that demand for fresh content, they need all hands on deck. And lots of tourism boards will have an in-house marketing team or a social media team that does all of this. And others will actually hire out influencers and content creators to help provide this content for them. And UGC creators are responsible for creating content that lives on their page, on the tourism board's page. So lots of tourism boards are starting to work with UGC creators because, well, maybe I should start with like the difference between being a travel influencer and being a travel UGC creator. So lots of people probably know the difference already, but for those of you who don't know, travel influencer is someone who relies on their influence, their social proof, in order to convert viewers into potential buyers. So whether it's like, raising awareness about a certain destination or a hotel, that's their job. They have a high following, they have high engagement on their own page. So they're kind of like providing an ad slot for the tourism board. The UGC creator, on the other hand, is creating content for the tourism board's page, which means that we're using the audience that the tourism board is already tapping into, but we're also giving them a boost by creating content that we as content creators are very experienced with creating. So something that we have that some tourism boards may or may not have is experience working with tourism boards and seeing what kind of social trends are, most effective and what kind of video hooks and storytelling is most effective. So that's a little bit about what it's like working with a tourism board as a UGC creator.
Okay, that's really helpful.
I hope that answered the question.
Yes. My follow-up question to that is like, what is an example of a project you've done for a tourism board?
Yeah, so I work with Visit California pretty often. So what I'll do is I create some short form video for them to post to their social media. So they use it for organic social. They'll post it to their Instagram, their TikTok. I've even seen a few of my videos on their YouTube shorts. Yeah, so they're, like I said, they're just like constantly looking for content. Not all tourism boards are like at that level yet, But more and more, I'm seeing literally like every month are hopping on that bandwagon because they're seeing how people are a lot more receptive to UGC ads, user generated content, more than really like high production, super well curated ads that are clearly like not necessarily very relatable, just like every other ad out there, doesn't actually tap into what viewers actually care about, which for tourism boards is probably going to be like, okay, there are so many places that we could travel to. Why would we choose your city, your state, your country over somewhere else? I only had 2 weeks off per year. Why would I choose to travel to your destination? To answer your question, though, when I work with Visit California, for example, I ask them what they're looking for. Usually they'll tell me what they want right off the bat. They already know more or less an idea of like the theme or a specific location or a local partner of business that they need coverage for. And then they'll let me know, and then we'll organize a shoot. But there have been other cases where I've worked with other tourism boards where I'm pitching an idea to them. So I'm the one who's like, hey, you don't know me. You don't know me, but I'm a travel UGC creator. And I have a really great idea that I think would be awesome, but also like I can show you why I think it would benefit you guys, you as a tourism board. Here's why I think people would be really receptive to it, and people would actually like watch your video and then convert into buyers, or convert into booking hotels, their hotel partners, for example.
Okay, that's super interesting. I love that. You mentioned something that I'm so glad you did that I want to talk about, which is pitching tourism boards. What would you say, in your experience, makes a good pitch? And secondly, this might be too big of a question to answer in one, but so what would make a good pitch? And then when you are finding these tourism boards or researching them, are you engaging with them for, let's say, like a couple weeks, a couple months, and then reaching out to them? Or are you just like, hey, I'm Roxanne, this is what I do, here's all my social proof. Tell me, I guess, what that process is like. I'm so curious.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So usually, yes, I will have a few touch points before I go pitch. Definitely just engaging with their account. On the other end of that account, the tourism board's account, they'll notice if it's like the same few people who are liking and commenting. And sometimes that is the same person who's in charge of greenlighting collaborations with content creators. So it can't hurt, you know what I mean? But yeah, when I decide to pitch to a tourism board, first thing I'll do is I will Google tourism board name, whatever their name is, and then press contact. And what this will do is it will pull up a bunch of press releases relating to that tourism board. And these are, basically articles where you have the tourism board's PR or marketing representative who decided to post something. They basically like to brag about all the cool achievements that they've garnered for their tourism board. And then at the end, there's that contact information. So that's a big question that I get is like, well, how do you even know where to send your pitch to? So yeah, tourism board name followed by press contact. And if you can't find it there, usually on the press page or the contact us page of the tourism board's website is where you can find that information. I don't recommend pitching to an info at email just because it's the generic email. You are probably not going to reach the person who's in charge of content creator collaborations that way. You want to look for someone in marketing or communications. And then when I formulate my pitch, before I even bother actually writing the pitch, I do a little bit of light research into the tourism board. So I take a look at their website and I take a look at their Instagram, and I ask myself a few questions. I ask myself, like, what is front and center for this tourism board on their website, and what are they currently promoting on their Instagram? Is it a certain type of travel package? Is it, they're promoting their destination as the perfect destination for couples, like a honeymoon destination? Are they promoting sustainability? I just ask myself questions like that. And then I take a look at their Instagram and I see if there is any alignment there. Like, okay, they're clearly promoting X, Y, and Z on their website. Are they doing the same for their Instagram? Because if not, that's a missed opportunity. And I always lead with trying to find something that I might be able to help the tourism board with, because these tourism boards get dozens of emails every single week saying, hey, your destination is cool. I'm going to work with you. But that's not what leads a tourism board to say, oh my gosh, thank goodness you landed in my inbox. Like, wow, that's a great idea. Let's pay you for this. You know, what's actually going to get that result is telling the tourism board that you notice something that could be improved and that you have exactly what it takes. And you need to make yourself seem like the obvious choice for solving this problem.
When you are pitching anybody you want to work with, you can't just roll up and be like, hey, can I work for you? Like, imagine if somebody showed up at your house and they knock on the door and they're like, hey, can you hire me? You'd be like, no, who are you? What do you even do? Who are you? Where did you come from? But if somebody knocked on your door and they're like, hey, I am an expert roofer and I noticed that your roof actually looks like some of the shingles are like deteriorating and that is a safety issue. And here's how, with my years of expertise being on roofs, I can fix that for you. You'd be like, oh, you know what? My roof is kind of messed up. That actually sounds really interesting. Tell me more. See the difference? Okay, that is like such a dramatic and insane example. I'm sorry. But the gist is still there. We have to tell people why they should want to work with you, but more so what you're bringing to the table. Like, what are you immediately recognizing that they don't have that you know with your skills and expertise you can fill?
So a few problems that I notice from some tourism boards that I see on Instagram is maybe they're only posting like one reel per month. And I sound like a broken record because I talk about this all the time, but and everybody else does in the social media space, right? They say, you got to post reels, you got to post reels. And it's true that posting reels as of right now, that's one of the best ways to get a large reach. So if a tourism board's goal is to get in front of more people who may not even know about their destination, or maybe just don't know that their destination has more to offer than like what people typically know them for, and they should definitely be posting more reels consistently throughout the week. So if they're not doing that, I come to them and I say, hey, your content is beautiful. You always want to lead with a compliment. You don't want to like offend them, right? I think that your content is beautiful. I do notice that you don't post very many reels to your account. And, then you tag your portfolio of video content that you've created that would, be very well aligned with their content. And then, you just go from there. You say, I would love to discuss some content ideas. I noticed that you guys post a lot about X, Y, and Z. Again, you tap back into that research that you did with their website, and just to show that you did your homework and that you're actually serious about this. And then I always recommend to end your pitch email with a call to action. So you never want to end it with like, let me know what you think, but rather you might want to say like, when are you free for a call next week? Like, you have to reduce the friction between the tourism board just basically forgetting your pitch email. You want to make it as easy for them as possible to say, okay, well, I have some time on my calendar here. Like, I might as well. Like, you want to get on the phone with them because that's where most deals are made. You set yourself apart from the crowd by doing it that way. And also, you can probably elaborate on your ideas a lot better. And I know plenty of PR and marketing people are so used to just getting that same pitch email template from all these creators all the time. So by setting yourself apart from the crowd and saying, hey, you want to see my face? Like, I want to see your face. Like, let's talk. Let's just chat. That really sets you apart in a nutshell. Yeah, that's my pitching process in a nutshell.
What Roxanne is doing is asking for what she wants. And that is kind of what we're doing when we're sending these emails overall, if you really think holistically about it. But being super clear and just saying, hey, I want to meet you and I want to talk about these things. Do you have 15 minutes? Is immediately getting to what you really want. And honestly, for the people you are sending it to, they probably appreciate that a lot more as well, because they're like, oh, what is the, we're going to just go in this ring of follow-up emails with this person who emailed me who wants to work with us for this tourism board. But they just want to chat for 15 minutes. So I can either spend 15 minutes chatting with them and then get incredible content out of it, or I can just go in this email loop chain to try and figure out what they really want. So good. Such like a valuable piece of content of not trying to be so like nice and like hee with our emails, but to be like, hey, this is what I want. Do you need this or no? And I want to read to you this quote. I subscribe to Hoot Design Company's newsletter. Highly recommend. Super great. And I took this screenshot from their newsletter that I want to share with you, especially if you are a woman listening to this. I know men listen to my podcast. Howdy, how you doing? But statistically, the data says more women do. So I will read this to you. It's very short. Why brave isn't just a word, it's a business revolution. She says, in one of our recent newsletters, we talked about the art of female rebellion and how playing nice isn't serving us anymore. When only 1.7% of women-owned businesses break the $1 million ceiling, being brave isn't optional, it's essential. How amazing is that? So if that is any sort of motivation to just ask for what you want, do it. I love that you say you end your emails with like a call to action, because that is so true. I learned, oh man, it must be years ago now, that you should end your emails in a question, because like as humans, we're like hardwired to answer something when people ask us. And I'm like, whoa. And then it works. It works because we are just humans on the other side of the screen. It's just crazy. Those tiny little switches that can really make such a big difference. When you first started doing, or I guess pitching in general, or working with any sort of UGC travel content, did you feel like it took you a long time or like a lot of pitches to be sent out before you were getting yeses?
Yes, 100%. So I've been doing this for a long time now, a few years. And only, I would say maybe a year or two ago was when I finally like started pitching effectively, because there's a lot of information floating around online, and it's very useful if you're looking for like gifted trips or gifted stays at hotels, which is pretty cool. Like, who doesn't like free stuff? But at the end of the day, it doesn't pay your bills, so it's not sustainable. So I actually recently did a 50 pitches challenge. So I
oh my
pitched
gosh,
to 50
yes.
tourism boards. Yeah, I pitched to 50 tourism boards, and I tried to do it in under 1 week. Totally didn't happen. Like, it's just too much. But I finished it, and I did get some yeses. So it's a numbers game. Honestly, if you're a creator who wants to work with tourism boards or any brands really in this space, you know, there are lots of creators who are pitching brands all the time. So in order to increase your chances of getting a response, like even just getting a response at all, because I've been ghosted quite a few times.
Yeah.
You need to increase the number of times that you are pitching. And lots of creators will say, well, I'm sure that, you know, brands will find me eventually, tourism boards will find me eventually. But it's just a really competitive space. You just have to put yourself out there and vouch for yourself. So the yes that I received was from a tourism board. It's a city tourism board somewhere here in the US, and it's a paid gig. I believe they were the 16th or 17th tourism board that I pitched to out of the list of 50. So they were number 16 or 17. So I always like to think of it this way. Like, imagine if I had pitched to that tourism board like number 50. If that was the 50th one that I pitched to, but I gave up before I got there. Yeah. It would have been awful.
Oh my gosh.
And it was worth it. It was worth it. So yeah, next month I'm actually in October, I'm driving out there, and it's in a different state. And I'm creating some video content for them to use on their social media.
That's the crazy part about all of this creator pitching shenanigans, is that you never know when that yes is going to come or where it's going to come from. So even if you've gotten 49 no's before, if you want to take up this challenge too that Roxanne did and pitch 50 tourism boards, freaking do it. But make sure you do the 50, because you never know. You never know, that 50th person might say yes. I was just going to ask, are you going to have to travel there? Like, because they're not going to be sending you video files. Okay, well, that's a little bit fun. I'm glad that this challenge at least you got something out of it, even though it was like super daunting to do that. That's crazy.
It was. I think also the more that you pitch, the more that you practice, the easier it becomes, and the faster that you're able to create like a compelling pitch with like good angles and good ideas. You just get a lot better at it the more that you do it. And I need to get back into it, because the 50 pitches challenge was like more than a month ago. So I need to get back into it.
Oh, it's so intimidating. Oh my gosh. Because like you can create all the systems and processes in place. And I'm sure even in some instances you could help like you lean on AI to summarize a website or something for you, but you still as a human need to be able to look at, either their Instagram or their website to see like what's going on. And that is the time suck because you can create all the templates in the world for the emails, but you have to actually make it sound like you didn't just copy and paste like everybody, like every other creator.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I know lots of people will use AI like Chat GPT. I use Chat GPT all the time, but I don't use it for my pitches. It's because everybody else is also using Chat GPT to create their pitches. So like, oh, well, yeah, this is like a way to save me a lot of time. But everybody else is trying to save time too. So I wouldn't say like completely avoid Chat GPT for this kind of stuff, but definitely don't just copy paste directly. Use it for inspiration. But yeah, I still definitely recommend tailoring your pitch to each tourism board and focusing on a problem that needs solving. Because especially for those of you creators who are out there who want to get paid to travel, you want to get paid by travel brands, tourism boards, and hotels, you need to like give them a reason to pay you to work with you. Let's start there to even just respond to your email beyond huge pile of other emails that they're getting. So you got to like really grab their attention and make it all about them. Another big mistake that I used to make when I was just starting out was I made it all about me and what I want. And, oh, I love your destination. I love this. I love that. There's nothing wrong with mentioning that, but make a good chunk of your pitch email about how you're able to help them and what you can provide for them. Because at the end of the day, you're a business and the tourism board is a business, and you are one business helping another business. It's a mutual exchange. It's got to be mutually beneficial if you want it to work out, if you want to get paid to travel.
Remember that quote I just read to you about how less than 2% of women-owned businesses reach over $1 million in revenue? Now is the time to treat this creator journey you're on. Maybe it is your full-time gig. Maybe it wants to be your full-time gig. Or maybe you are trying to expand and do a whole bunch of different creator things in this journey. This is a business you are creating. And now there's literally no better time than to treat it as one. How would you expect another person you were pitching to or like another business to act? Be that business. Be that business. I'm so glad you mentioned mistakes because that was something I wanted to ask you about. What mistakes do you see other UGC travel creators doing? Either maybe specifically in like their Airbnb UGC content or their hotel or their stay content, really. When you probably come across those kinds of pieces of content from other creators or similar people and you watch them, what mistakes are you seeing that they're doing that you're like, oh, I would have done this differently, or maybe if you change this one little thing, this would go a lot farther or just do better in general?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I see some pieces of content out there. If we're talking about like hotels and Airbnbs, I do see some pieces of content that don't emphasize the amenities of the property. Like if you're staying in an Airbnb or a hotel that has like a gorgeous pool outside, then you definitely don't miss that, of course, because I know it might sound a little obvious to some people, but like for one reason or another, it may just like not end up in the final cut. And one thing that I want to point out is that some of these amenities are some of the entire reasons why people choose to book these properties. So you definitely want to feature those. But in terms of like the way that they edit the content themselves or the way that they piece it together, I think leading with a strong visual hook is really important. I know that lots of creators like to create like aesthetic hotel content, which can perform really well. Like, don't get me wrong, but having either like a written hook in the video or a verbal hook, if you're doing a voiceover, says something like, I didn't realize when I booked this Airbnb that there was a secret hidden room in the back. Or like, obviously that's a very specific scenario, but you know what I mean? Or I didn't realize when I booked this hotel room that the view is going to be this epic, because now viewers want to watch all the way through and see, wait, what view? There's an epic view? Like, wait, I'll be the judge of that. I want to see the view.
Yeah.
And that that increases the retention, right? Like that increases audience retention. People watch further in the video, and then it pushes the video out more. Even if you're not an influencer, you're not posting it to your own page, you still need to know about social media growth, because your clients, the tourism boards that you're creating content for, they care about social media growth. That's exactly what you're doing. You're creating content so that they can get some results, so they get more eyes on their content, and that ultimately results in more people booking trips to their hotel, their destination. So you still need to kind of like have your finger on the pulse of like what's happening, like social media.
No, it's important to know what's hip on social media. That's true. If you're listening to this and you're like, I just want to know how to create these video hooks, episode 30 is where you can listen and get all this inspiration and actionable advice on 30 video hooks that will completely transform your content. Highly recommend queuing this one after our chat with Roxanne. I'm so glad you mentioned people creating sort of these aesthetic, dreamy shots of their Airbnbs or their stays. And I'm like, that is cool. I do want it, like, great. You might sell me on the aesthetic appeal. But sometimes I feel like that's all I see in terms of travel UGC for Airbnbs. And sometimes I'm like, can it really be, like, is there another way we can figure out how to make this travel UGC not just these beautiful, dreamy shots of the place? I love that you mentioned amenities. Do you go in with like a base shot list that you're like, no matter the property, I'm going to get a freaking video of the kitchen? Or like, how in your mind do you think about what you want to capture? And maybe it's just you start with looking at the listing and you're like, they have a beautiful pool. We need to talk about that. But I would love to know more about that process, or like, how do we create UGC travel content that isn't just aesthetic shots? Or is that just what is working best? Should we just do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So aesthetic content is kind of hit or miss. And I think it's for a few reasons. Personally, I think that it works because obviously, like, I love aesthetically like shot content. I don't know anyone who doesn't. But also it's like it's really saturated. I feel like lots of videos about hotels are the same. And I can't even give you an example of like, oh yeah, I remember that one aesthetic video about the XYZ hotel.
So true.
So I can't even like remember a specific example. I can't differentiate between like two different properties because they all kind of start to blend together. So I think it all just boils down to like creating content that's fresh, like that's a little bit different, so that people aren't just gonna like scroll past thinking like, I think I've already seen this, Like you want people to stop scrolling and actually watch the video, of course. So aesthetic content can work, but I definitely recommend putting some sort of like written hook on the video. If you do that, if there's no voiceover or anything like that, at least put some kind of hook somewhere. I always go with like these three things. If there's a voiceover, it's verbal. I'm speaking the verbal hook. Secondly, I'm going to put a written hook, whether it be like the text on the screen or, captions, whatever. And then the actual post caption itself is the third hook. Just because usually people need multiple touch points in order to remember to do something, whether it's liking, commenting, sharing, tapping the link in their Instagram bio to lead to their booking website. So I think that's something that I noticed that lots of creators don't think about beforehand.
You make it sound so simple, and I know that it is not. Know that it requires so much more and so many more steps and things like that. Oh my goodness. I want to talk about, you told me you analyze or try to high-performing content that works. I want to know more about this. Tell me what this means. I want all the gossip you have about it, really.
Yeah, of course. So when I go to analyze high-performing content, what I mean by that is I'm a total nerd when it comes to social media content and like what's performing best for businesses that are posting on social media. I'm always looking for like what kind of social media content do people actually resonate with? Because, I'm always wondering like, why is it that this reel performed well and it's popping off? People are really excited about it. They're commenting on it. And why is it that this reel is not? Like, people don't seem that excited about it. So I've had my fair share of like posting a bunch of content that doesn't really go anywhere. And I've also had a few pieces of content that perform pretty well. And it's really important for us content creators to know what performs well at any given point, because whether you're an influencer or you're a UGC creator, your content is going somewhere online, right? So I'm mainly just analyzing and looking for the hooks, which I mentioned. Like, is there some kind of hook that's going to make people stop scrolling and actually watch all the way to the end? And then I'm also making sure, does this reel have a call to action? So I know we just talked about like call to action when we're pitching to brands and tourism boards, but also, no matter what you're posting, you want a call to action, even if you're not selling something necessarily. If you're creating a video for a tourism board, for example, you might put, like, if they ask you to write the caption itself as well, then you might put in the caption somewhere like, comment which of these places in this itinerary that you would love to go to first, something like that, because it encourages viewers to comment, to share with a friend, and then it's gonna hopefully perform really nicely for the tourism board, and it's gonna help them win, and when they win, you win, because now the tourism board is gonna say, like, you created this awesome content for us and we loved it and it performed pretty well and it was a success, and now we want some more content from you. Let's talk about how we can work together again in the future. So it's a win-win.
I love that. If you were going to give advice to someone they're like, wow, okay, I just listened to everything Roxanne said, and now I think I need to go do some UGC travel content or try this, what would you recommend they do? Or what would you say to your past self who was starting? Where should they begin?
Well, I mean, for starters, on my Instagram, I have plenty of free resources. Travel Creator CEO, that's my Instagram handle. I post about all my tips for, ranging from, like, if you're an absolute beginner content creator, like, that you want to be a travel content creator, but you're not really sure what to do at all the way up to, like, I'm also helping plenty of UGC creators in the lifestyle space who want to kind of like dip their toes into the travel niche specifically. So I have plenty of free resources there. I have a few free guides to monetizing your travel content, even if you don't have thousands of followers. Yeah, I would start there. And I would also recommend just working on your portfolio. If you have any trips coming up, it doesn't have to be somewhere super exotic and hot. Like, even if you just live in a major city somewhere. So no matter where you are, find your nearest city and just start creating some content that's inspired by the content that you see other tourism boards posting. For example, Discover LA would be my tourism board, my nearest local tourism board. I'm going to take a look at what they're posting, and I'm going to take inspiration from that, because there's a reason they're posting that type of content. It's because they like it and it works. And I'm going to build my portfolio to be inspired by that. So kind of like, similar vibes, similar topics. And once you've built out your portfolio with a few different types of videos, you're on your way to pitching to tourism boards. I think those are the bare basics there. My course, the Travel Creator CEO course, is specifically for you if you are an aspiring travel content creator who wants to learn how to monetize your travel content, even if you don't have thousands of followers, and even if you're not traveling 24/7. So yeah, I'm really excited about this course. There aren't too many travel UGC specific courses out there that talk about how to effectively pitch to tourism boards, hotels, and travel brands for paid campaigns. So I go over that. I'm really excited about that. And we also go over 2 other streams of income that don't require a massive following. So affiliate marketing in the travel space, and also selling digital products in the travel space. So very, very excited for that. And yeah, you can find my course linked in the show notes. I know Laura will link it somewhere.
That's amazing. This made me think, when did you start selling your first digital product? Because I checked them out and I was like, oh my goodness, I think I want to buy all of them. They were all so good. And like, wow, they just feel like no-brainers as well. They feel like, well, duh, who wouldn't want the list of contacts of people in XYZ industry? But when did you first start that creation process, or like actually slapping them on your store to sell?
So naturally, I have collected quite a few emails just from doing my own research, from just looking online and trying to find the best point of contact when I want to pitch to a tourism board. And I realized that it's really hard to find like actual contact lists for tourism boards online. And I know that it's a total time suck. It has
Totally.
taken up so much time just trying to find the right person in charge. And then sometimes I'll DM a brand or tourism board on Instagram and they'll give me the generic info email address. And then my pitch email doesn't even get read, which is so disheartening. So I realized that there's a need for this in the travel creator space. So that's why I started working on it. Oh my gosh, it took me so many hours, Laura. It took me so many hours to compile it. But yeah, I verified multiple press releases. I went through several tourism board websites, through their contact us pages, looked for the media and marketing departments. And yeah, I mean, I'm very transparent about like how I find these emails and how other people can find these as well if they have the time. But the reason why I have these master lists is because for me, it takes a long time to find them all. So if you want to save yourself some time, you can always grab the master lists in my storefront, and I update them pretty regularly to make sure that the info is up to date and hopefully save you some time. That way you can spend more time crafting the perfect pitch instead of just doing like all this admin work of finding the right email contact.
Oh, brutal. Yeah, no. That's not going to be a thing we spend our time doing. No, thank you for creating that on our behalf.
Of course.
Have you ever pitched someone over Instagram, or do you solely do email?
Usually I reserve Instagram for just getting their contact info, because I know that when social media managers are on Instagram, they've got like a million tabs open at the same time and they're not really like dialed in. However, funny you should mention that, because I reached out to someone on LinkedIn. By the way, if you're not reaching out to brands or tourism boards on LinkedIn, just like to introduce yourself, definitely do that. Nobody talks about it. It's one of the best ways to set yourself apart and to get in the right person's inbox. So I pitched to this marketing manager for a tourism board, and I didn't send my pitch in that message. I just asked him, I said, hey, I have a pitch for your tourism board. I was wondering who's the best point of contact? Where can I send my pitch to, please? And he responded with, do you have a specific idea that you're looking to pitch? Like, he put me on the spot. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. So I ended up pitching to him via LinkedIn. I'm still waiting to hear back. It was like last Friday, literally just a few days ago. But he was like, no, let's just cut out all the fluff. Like, let's get to it. Tell me your ideas. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I dropped everything because I knew he was going to be waiting for that response.
Right.
Yeah, LinkedIn, you guys, seriously, just introduce yourself. I wouldn't recommend just starting with like a, hi, I want to work with you guys. Definitely just like if they posted about something recently on LinkedIn, message them saying, oh, congrats on the new position. Or, yeah, I found you through this press release I was reading about your tourism board. And yeah, I love what you guys are doing over there. Let's keep in touch. And then from there on out, like, if they accept your connection request, maybe a couple weeks later, you can come back to them and say, hey, by the way, I'm really interested in working together. What would be the best point of contact?
Got it. Genius. I love that. That's also smart because if people message you on LinkedIn, you also get an email that they messaged you. So it's like, bam, you're automatically in two places. I'm so glad you mentioned this because I feel like I've spent a long time trying to figure out how travel creators can freaking use LinkedIn, because it's just literally a database. And I am like, why are we not using it? And like, how can we use more of it so that, okay, that makes me feel better. I'm not digging down a dead end here. That's great.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like, there's this huge misconception that LinkedIn is only for people who are working in the corporate world, like who are working 9 to 5s. No, actually, there are plenty of freelancers and general contractors who are using LinkedIn to connect with people. And yeah, it's an amazing networking platform. like you said, it's basically like a database. You can just find PR people, and you can network with them through there.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really great. I love it so much. Definitely, just if you're looking to pitch to a tourism board, you could just go to the tourism board on LinkedIn, click on the people tab, and then just start searching for people and see who your best point of contact is.
Yeah, that's a little life hack there for sure. It's also like eerily creepy how often, or like I'm looking at people on LinkedIn or like searching, like you had mentioned, and then you are like 3 mutual connections away from them. And I'm like, what? This is weird. It's weird. It happens too much. But this is a reminder for everybody listening to, I know you're ignoring your LinkedIn. I know you are. And it's time to update your little profile picture and header and your actual job title that says you're a creator. Promise.
Yes.
It's time.
It's time, and definitely make sure that you're like optimizing your username, or if you're a UGC creator, put travel UGC creator somewhere in there. Put it somewhere in there, because I can tell you right now, like, not a lot of people are. I've actually had an inbound come from, it was literally within a couple of months of me changing my name to include travel UGC creator. I had an inbound. They found me on LinkedIn. It was crazy. So yeah, get on it. Get on it, guys.
I mean, it also makes sense too, because if you just search travel creator or whatever into LinkedIn, it's going to filter by the people who, similarly to Instagram, how it works with those kind of keywords. But yeah, severely folks in this world are sleeping on using LinkedIn. So thank you for this reminder and kick in the pants. Very needed. Is there anything else you want to say about travel UGC that you'll walk away and be like, okay, I'm at peace now. I said what I need to say. If not, that's okay. Just give you the opportunity if you have it.
Yeah. Oh, I got to think about this one. Ooh, okay.
Or maybe like if you have a horror story of working with someone or something, that could be fun.
That's fun. That's fun. I will mention, well, not one specific horror story, but something that I and many other travel UGC creators have experienced is not reading your contract properly. Definitely read your contracts before signing them. That goes without saying, but you'd be surprised how many people are like, oh my gosh, the tourism board or the brand or whoever sneaked in some extra terms without me realizing, and I signed them away. I signed away all the rights to my content when, and didn't charge extra for it or what have you. So definitely read your contracts. If you are scared by the prospect of reading contracts, there are plenty of lawyers and attorneys who specialize in that, who specialize in helping content creators understand all that jargon. So definitely reach out to one of those, because you could be compensated a lot more if a brand or tourism board uses your content for, let's say, like print ads or billboard ads. I will leave it at that.
That is great advice. That is such good advice. So true, because you can get so caught up in the excitement of it that you don't want to do the boring part, which is the understanding and reading. You just want to get right to it. But yeah, it can totally ruin everything if you miss that. For sure. Oh my goodness. That was really insightful. Thank you for sharing so much information on how the heck to even, basically you taught somebody how to build a business in a podcast episode, and that's really impressive. So thank you for that. I'm so excited to check out your course. I think it's going to change everything for creators who want to learn travel UGC on that level, because we talk about all the time, just pitch tourism boards, just pitch whatever. But to have somebody kind of lay it out for you is amazing. So thanks for taking the time to put that together as well. You have taken a lot of the grunt work out of making content, which is great. We can find you at Travel Creator CEO on Instagram. A great follow. I look forward to many more things you post. But thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I appreciate it so much. And I know that we have so many things to share with my audience about this episode. And I know they are very interested in UGC. So this is just like little cherry on top, little UGC cherry on top of learning all those tidbits from you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, hopefully this was useful to those of you who are listening. And thanks for having me on.
Was this useful? Of course it was useful, Roxanne. I honestly think this is one of the podcast episodes I have done that I feel like there is so much actionable advice and actionable tips that is setting this episode apart from all of the other ones I have recorded. This is such a meaty episode, and I personally am going to go back and pull things from it and listen to it. This reminds me, I have transcripts of every single podcast episode ever shared with you. Is this something you would want? Would this be helpful for you to go and grab the transcript? Because sometimes for me, I think it's helpful to go back and Command F a word or two to find that section they were talking about. If you want the transcripts, let me know on Instagram at Travel Content Writing or leave a comment on this video on YouTube. By the way, if I'm still in your ears right now and you've made it this far, wow. You deserve a little treat today. That was pretty freaking awesome. But if you want to send this to a friend who you think would benefit from this, that would be awesome. We also would love a subscribe on YouTube. We would, because there'll be more video content coming out on YouTube this year. The handle is Travel Content Writing, or you can search a Travel Creator Podcast. I hope you are going to take what you've learned from this episode with Roxanne and go and rock some UGC tourism board pitching and close a freaking deal. If you loved this episode, please let me know. Please let me know. I love to hear from you on Instagram at Travel Content Writing, the messages you send me. Every time someone sends me a message, I literally show someone else. I was with my boyfriend and I was like, look at this. Rachel sent me a message and it was making me cry. So thank you so much for being a listener here. Thank you for spending the first year of this podcast with me. I appreciate you so much. Shout out Marie. You're the best producer I've ever had. And by the way, I just got back from Denmark. Can we talk about how amazing Copenhagen is? It is my favorite city in the world. It really is. And going back there just confirms that that is true for me. It's such a perfect place that it's almost annoying, you know when you visit those places and you're like, why are you so beautiful? What happened to you? Where did you come from? Yeah, that's how I feel about Scandinavia. The amount of pastries I consumed, let me just tell you about this one, okay? It was a cinnamon roll-esque, okay, it was flaky croissant-y dough, powdered sugar, slivers of pistachios, and almonds. Sounds disgusting. It's not. Bear with me. And a drizzle of pistachio cream on it. Beautiful. Beautiful. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a photo of it right here. And then I had it with a latte that was hot. My only beef, okay, is that the hot lattes come in a glass cup. So your hand is burning, shaking as you're trying to drink this hot latte in a glass cup. Don't understand that part. We're going to move it aside because I love Scandinavia so much. And if you're anything like me, I like to have a little dipping moment. So being able to dip that little pistachio moment into that coffee, sitting in the cutest cafe you've ever seen in the world. Yeah, that was me last week. And then I went to Berlin and that was fine. That's all I'll say about that. It was just hard to go from such a incredibly beautiful city to a industrial, some horrible things have happened there city, But it was really, really interesting to learn about the history, of course, and definitely pretend that that's not happening in the US, Yeah. Okay. To end on a brighter note, if you need any Copenhagen recommendations, I would be happy to share them with you. If you are thinking about going anywhere this year, please add Denmark to your list, okay? And then don't tell your friends how amazing it is. All right. Love you so much. See you later.